What is up, guys? Well, I got an awesome guest with me today, Joe Go Motorcycle Adventures. What's up, Joe?
What's up, man? What's happening?
Not too much. Been working on the bike. I know you were down in Pensacola for the lock and lean. How is that? Like, I know you did slow racing, different competitions. Uh, what was your insight with that?
Yeah, man. So that was my first motorcycle rodeo ever down there in Pensacola. Didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I've been practicing probably about 3 years now. I freaking got addicted to it because of Robert Simmons. Saw his videos, started practicing all his techniques, and then just took off from there. So when I went down to that rodeo, I mean, there was a lot of high level riders out there. It was kind of intimidating, to be honest. And I was in the novice, um, whatever you want to call it, novice division.
Okay.
And man, yeah, I couldn't believe some of these people that were in this division. Like that, there's no way they were novices. Um, but yeah, so before that, I did take Lock and Lean 101. That's their first course that they got, and that definitely helped me prepare for this rodeo. There's a lot of technical patterns. They also had like uh, they had a speed pattern where it was timed,
Okay.
and the main goal was to go through it clean without hitting any cones. They didn't really care how fast you went through it because you lost more points if you ding some cones or you don't qualify if you fall over, of course, something like that.
Okay.
But man, it really pushed my limits. It really did.
Now, would you have done the competition if you didn't do the lock and lean? Like, I know you've been practicing on your own, doing cones, been watching some of your videos. Um, and it's like you said, like that probably prepared you a lot more. Would you would you been more intimidated even with all the practice if you hadn't taken that course?
Uh, I would probably say so. But I think I would still do it because the environment out there, like everybody's so welcoming, everybody's so willing to, they see you struggling with something or you're doing something wrong, like they'll come over and be like, "Hey, you're not turning your head over here or you're going too fast." I mean, it's such a welcoming environment, and I encourage anybody, like if you can do all the stuff Robert Simmons teaches, you'll be good to go over there.
Okay. Because and I hate that I couldn't even get down there. I knew you were in town and I had things going on that weekend because it would have been really amazing just to be over there and just watch it in person. But just watching the videos that you have posted, it's like completely different because it's technical skills that almost any basic rider could use
Oh
because
yeah,
it's like Robert Simmons, being the boss of your motorcycle and doing practice. It's skills, I guess, daily riders. To be more comfortable with your motorcycle, to prepare yourself because you never know what kind of situation you're going to be in, and I feel like those are more skills that people need to learn because
hmm
there's so many people out there that prevent themselves from getting a motorcycle because they're too big or not comfortable on it. But learning these skills can get you over that fear because it don't matter what kind of motorcycle you ride. If you know these skills, then it shouldn't limit you from a 800, 900 pound bagger to a 400 pound whatever it could be because it's still the same skills going across all those bikes.
right. Yeah, that's the one thing that I like about uh, how Robert Simmons teaches and Lock and Lean. So both of them, they're they're teaching for real world situations. And one thing that stuck with me for Lock and Lean, Ben always says it's cool to ride a pattern, but we're not here to ride a pattern because the road is all different sorts of shapes. So his main slogan is practice with a purpose. So if you're out in the parking lot, you got the U-turn down. So now why don't you try to so you got like a 24-foot U-turn set up, try to make that in 20 feet in case you're doing a U-turn, something pops out in front of you, and then all of a sudden you gotta make your turn tighter. I mean, practicing for these real world situations that we all need to do it.
Exactly.
But yeah, man,
Because
it's a great time.
as real world, everything is always changing. It's not set in stone. So having those skills to adapt, because if you're afraid, like if you go jumping on a big bagger and you're afraid and you just set the same pattern, well, then you're not prepared out there. So,
Yep.
you know, and putting in the practice, because I mean, I've seen you putting in tons of practice to even be able to do this competition, come home with trophies, and now you have what, a class set up this month or next?
Yeah,
That
it's actually going to be well, actually next month, May 5th on a Sunday. And I realize it's Cinco de Mayo, so if anybody wants to come out, bring your sombrero, and we'll have a little fiesta in the cones.
So, what actually got you into motorcycles or started? What was kind of like your background to that before even getting into the whole practicing with motorcycles?
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. Like, just one day, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to get a motorcycle. I didn't really have any influence from anybody to go out and get a motorcycle. So I saved up some money. I think my first motorcycle was a 250 Honda Rebel, which
Okay.
I look like a freaking gorilla on that thing. It was goofy, but glad I got it just to learn. Um, and then from there, I actually never took the basic rider course before I got my license. I just got the book because I think I was probably, I don't know, 22. So I was dead broke, didn't have any money. So I got the book, set up some cones at work, and just practiced the stuff that was going to be on the test. And I think I upgraded my motorcycle before that to a 750 Honda Shadow Spirit, and I
Okay.
took the test on that, and I don't know how I passed, but I did. Um, so after that, I actually took the Harley Davidson course because at that time they offered it free for military. So me and my buddy took it. Might as well. And then getting into the cone stuff, I was one day I'll never forget this. I was just sitting on my recliner. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look up some like motorcycle practice stuff, and something aligned to where Robert literally just started his channel, saw his channel, and got hooked on his videos, and the rest is history.
So, eventually, I want to take one of Robert's classes, like, because I've taken three of the basic rider safety courses.
Mhm.
And it's like what you're saying with the Harley and everything like that. I ended up taking that one. And not because I ride Harleys, I recommend that one to a lot of people
Oh
because
yeah,
of the way
for
they got
sure.
it set up. Their bikes have now, when I took it, they had the different bikes. They had the street, I want to say 500s, where the crash bars were amazing because you couldn't fall over or the bike couldn't fall over on them.
Right.
So, and that was a lot of reason why I recommended to beginner riders the Harley course because of the coaches and also the bikes they had available. Because the very first one I took was out in Texas, and they had like Honda Rebel 250s and like 125s, no crash bars on them. So if you didn't give it enough gas, especially being beginners, didn't know the clutch, the bike could just fall over. And I think that made a lot of people more nervous of being trapped under the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I was in the Marine Corps, even though I had already taken the basic rider safety course, they made me take it again on my own bike.
Okay.
So that one I would have to say was the worst course that I took because they made you take it on your own bike. It didn't matter how long you've been riding. So there was two guys that showed up on crotch rockets and really couldn't do the complete course. So they were kind of already penalized a little bit.
Mm.
Uh, it's like the whole box turn where you can't put your feet down. Well, they couldn't really do that. So that's where I think the Harley course has been the best one that I've taken. And then after that, I would definitely go and take like a course with Robert Simmons, lock and lean to maximize your potential on your bike and be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing about that Harley class, I really like that because the groups were a lot smaller. I think we only had like, I think their max is maybe 10 or 12 people. And I think we maybe had 8. So it's a real small group. So you can really get that training in. And another advantage, if you don't have your license yet, you can get your license through them, which is pretty cool. My buddy
Right.
actually got his license through that course while we were there. Yeah, I highly recommend taking any course. Hop online. There's a lot more courses out there than you think. I mean, you got Pro Rider. There's a bunch of pro riders out there. You got Ride Like a Pro, Jerry Palladino's. He's got a bunch in a bunch of different states. So get out there and look, man.
Now, was it your lock and lean that you did with a bunch of other YouTubers, or was it a different course? So I know like Meg's
No,
motorcycle
no,
journey.
yeah, that was Jerry Palladino's course that we
Okay.
went out there. Yeah. So she set that up. Jerry hosted it. It was me, Jerry, Doodle, Meg, uh, MCC Just Motos. It was a good time.
Now, what's your next kind of, I guess, competition or course that you're kind of planning on doing, or have you even thought about that?
Oh yeah. So I got 2 more courses coming up. I got Lock and Lane 102 towards the end of May, and then in August I'm going to be taking the Yamaha Champ School, their street course where you
Okay.
bring your own motorcycle. So pretty pumped about that. Me and Riding and Wrenching, they're doing a course out here in Ohio, so
Oh wow.
we're going to attend that. It's going to be a good
At
time.
least I want to be close to home and not having to go all the way down to Pensacola.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's a long drive, man. Really
I
far.
could imagine. I mean, especially coming from Ohio all the way down to there, because then going through Alabama, you get all, well, a lot of it will be interstate, but once you kind of get off there, it's just back road all the way down there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, the way to Pensacola wasn't so bad because I was hyped up to get out there, but man, that ride back, whew, I rolled straight through both ways except for the way back. I had to stop for like an hour because I had to get some sleep.
what time did you actually leave coming from Pensacola back home? Because I know you were down there for some of the lock and lean competition that day.
Yeah, I want to say I left around 4:30 ish, somewhere between there, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and
Oh,
I got home around, I don't know. It was like 11 or noon, something like that.
ooh,
Because then I lose an hour because I didn't know Pensacola had a different time zone. They're an hour
right.
behind. So yeah, that was interesting.
Well, we got Rolling Thunder in the house, Drew. So,
So man, thanks. Love this hat. You guys haven't checked out Just GQ. You're missing out.
yep, got to run into him down in Daytona this year. Well, actually, I ran into him last year, but actually got to hang out with him at Traveling Talls event, which his Run to the Hills 4 is coming up, which June 7th and the 8th. And it's kind of funny because 2 years ago, that's the event that I got to meet you, Robert
Okay.
Simmons. I forgot who all out was out there, but quite a
Yeah.
few people.
Yeah, there
So
was.
I didn't get to
Yeah.
make last year's because I had the bike torn apart, but
Mm,
this year I will be making that event.
that's awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, these past 2 years, it's falling on when I have so in the National Guard we got to do 2 weeks out of the year, and it's fallen on that training, so I can't really get out of it. So I'll get there one of these years again.
Right.
That was a fantastic event. I had a blast, and I really want to get back out there again.
I just love being out there anyway. I mean, I
Hmm.
want to pick up a drone because to really capture a lot of that, you almost need a drone just to, I guess, because it's different from seeing it above than just riding through it. I mean, either
Hmm.
way, and I guess more to show other people than what I'm experiencing on the bike to give them the whole overview of the scenery. So, and it's almost in my backyard. I mean, it's like about 5 to 6 hour ride up to there.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah,
this
I'm
time I got
jealous of that.
the family kind of going with me. Well, I got the wife going up there, and then I'm jumping over to Tall's event for Saturday. So I'm going to be actually in Pigeon Forge, hanging out around that area.
Yeah, everything out there, man. It's freaking beautiful. I think I've been out there, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times, and I'd like to get back out there this year, but I'm so darn busy. So maybe next year, and then after that, I need to uh, ex- explore the West. I need to get out west because I know there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, I want to get back out to the West on a motorcycle because I was stationed out in California. So I did a little bit of
Mm.
riding around in South Cali, out to Vegas, but one, I was on a Sportster at the time, so I wasn't really doing any traveling and trying to get the time off. So I really want to get back out there and set goals, or not really goals, but destinations of unique places to see. I mean, I've been down to San Diego, all that kind of area, but I want to get up to South or North Cali and venture up there. I know Cycle Fanatic is about to do a heck of a trip
Yeah.
in July. I'm like 10,000, 11,000 miles in that month, and it's like just hitting unique places. I mean, that
Hmm.
is probably one of the ultimate goals is to kind of see some of those places. But for him to do it basically in a month, that's a lot of riding. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of planning. Um,
Yeah. No doubt. I did a lot of planning when I did my iron butt ride, and that was practically a straight line down to Daytona. So
oh, I can
I can,
imagine.
yeah, I can only imagine making a humongous loop all those miles, trying to find places to stay, and like that's going to be a trip that he doesn't forget.
Oh, I can imagine that. Plus documenting the whole thing. I haven't
Oh yeah.
done an iron butt. I haven't done a bun burner, but I think to do that for myself, I need a set destination. Um,
Yeah.
but to actually plan it out, and because I know some guys have done it in their state, four corners. Um, I would see that being real boring, but also kind of a pain because definitely on back roads.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't miss nothing, Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do a trip like that, don't stay in your state unless you have time constraints. And if you have time constraints, I don't even suggest doing it. I mean,
Because I know yours was basically all interstate, just straight down to Florida for Daytona.
Oh yeah.
So, because then you're rocking 70, 80, trying to get as much fuel out of the tank as possible. You're not really trying to push it like hard. Well, I mean, you're not
I
trying to
was
rock up
I was
80,
pushing it.
90, 80, yeah, 80, well, 80, 90 to burn fuel that you
Yeah.
don't need to get as many miles out of the tank. So I would see that being a whole lot easier than the ones trying to do in their state, because the back roads, 50, 60, definitely if you're going through a small town, 35 miles an hour, I would see that cutting down on a lot of time that you would probably need to make that thousand.
Mm,
So I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's just personally, I wouldn't do it. I mean,
yeah.
I rather have a set destination. Hey, I'm at this destination. I've wanted to get here today and enjoy myself than, hey, I'm just in my state running around. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'll be honest. That the 1,000 miles I feel was tougher than the Bun Burner 1,500, because Bun Burner I actually stopped for a couple hours in Wisconsin at a state park, got a couple hours of sleep, and then hit the road again. But man, that Iron Butt 1,000 miles in less than 24 hours, that's no joke, man.
I can imagine. Like, I thought about doing it for content on the Sportster, but I'm like, I'd be hurting after that because I don't have a backrest.
Mm.
Uh, and it's just not as comfortable. Like, I don't have my radio, I don't have a lot of features, and I don't have cruise control. So I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah, it'd probably make some good content of, hey, I did this on a Sportster, but do I really want to hurt that bad for 1,000 miles for a video that might do well or not, might not? So I definitely, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on bagger. Because
Yeah.
I know even John talked about probably doing it on his Hayabusa before he sold it. Now I
Oh
know he never
no.
got around to doing that, but it's just kind of one of those. I rather enjoy the ride, and
Yeah. I would not suggest trying that on a Hayabusa. I mean, you can. And then I went into it thinking I was going to get this big elaborate video, but honestly, it the whole time you're literally just riding. It's not very exciting.
right. And that's where I've gotten to. Like, if I'm on the interstate, I don't really record as much anymore because it's the same thing. I rather do back roads, enjoy the ride, like 500 to 700 miles in a day. I'm perfectly fine with that because I can make my stops and continue on. So it's a whole lot more pleasurable.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we got Miss Jenny. We got Adam Yoho in the house. Awesome. Glad you guys joined. For
So,
once,
what is going on with your
uh,
CVO though?
I don't know, dude. Like I've been having quite a few issues. So the first issue is it's getting pretty crappy gas mileage. My last tank before it went in got 150 miles on a full tank. So, and then when I went to go and fill it up at 150 miles, it took 5.5 gallons. So
Dang.
they're trying to tell me is because I changed the breather and put the tuner on that it's going to affect the gas mileage. I'm like, that's not that much. Not when people's getting I'm in a CVO Facebook group that Riding and Wrenching created, and people are getting upwards of over 300 miles to a tank. So I know it's not
Whew.
that.
Yeah. Now, if we were talking about my bagger, then yeah, about 150 miles to the tank to like 200. That's normally what I'm getting. But I've done a
Yeah.
lot of work to it, bigger injectors. Um, so, but when the norm is getting up there close to 300, and then you change out an air cleaner and tuner, and you drop to 150, Yeah, there's something going on a little bit.
Yeah, even before I even switched anything, I think the best I got was 176 miles, and this isn't me riding like a madman. Like, I'm purposely not riding like a madman just to see what kind of gas mileage I can get. And supposedly with that VVT engine, you're supposed to be getting excellent gas mileage. On the website, on Harley's website, it says its average is 45 miles to the gallon, and I'm getting 31. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. They're gonna give it back. Other thing that was going on is my TPMS sensor keeps on flashing on the dash every time I start moving, and then they found a leak in the front fork seal. Let's see, the one of the I don't know, that gasket where the push rod covers are, that was
Okay.
leaking, so they had to replace that. I love the bike to death, man. I just want it to work though.
Oh, that's some major work too. I mean, as long as it's adjustable push rods, replacing that gasket's not too bad. Um,
Yeah, they already
but
replaced it,
but it's
so
still brand new. Shouldn't be leaking like that right out of the box. I mean, if you
yeah.
had upward of 60,000 to 100,000, then I could see that happening. But and that's still iffy because normally for push rod gaskets, I don't really see them going as unless you're doing work and install them wrong. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen more head gaskets, and that's higher compression, something going out up there.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck, man, but hopefully when I get it back, I'm gonna be putting a full exhaust from Tab Performance on it. I'm gonna flash it back to the regular stage one tune. So I don't know if it had something to do with me only changing the air cleaner and not having the full exhaust, because I believe that's what the tune is set up for, is for completely changing that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll go from there. They want me to put it back to the stock configuration, take it back up there, and then they want to do a 50-mile test ride, and I don't know if I'm gonna go through all that trouble.
Now it should good or actually sound pretty good with the tap performance on there. I know it's
Dude,
going to be a lot louder.
I cannot wait to hear that thing, because Robert has he had the 50 cals on his. He had the same CVO as me, and then he upgraded to the ST. But dude, that thing sounded so freaking good with just slip-ons on it. I can't wait to hear it with a full exhaust. That thing's gonna sound mean.
Oh, I can imagine. So I went from running the D&D, shoot, not Fat Cat, Borzilla, which is actually oversized pipe for a 103. So I went from that to the SNS 2-in-1 Sidewinder.
Hmm.
Absolutely love that pipe. Not as big, but it's got just a deep growl to it when I get on it. But idle is quiet. It's like it's one of those mix. It's like okay, it doesn't sound like it's just obnoxious at idle,
Hmm.
kind of like a sleeper pipe almost.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would go anything else. I don't know. I'm just big SNS fan.
Yeah.
Now they just came out with their new pipe, which I cannot get because it only fits like the M8s. Um,
Okay.
so and it's their shorty pipe. I'm like,
Mm.
but '08 is one of those weird years.
Mm.
It was that transition year, first year for the 6 gallon tank, throttle by wire, ABS, and then '09 they changed everything again to the fatter rear tire. So it was a lot going on. I've
Yeah.
got let's see who all we got in the house. Let's see. We got
Yeah.
Dallas in the house.
What's up, Dallas? I don't speak Spanish though, Dallas.
Neither do I. So You got
Yeah,
Raven Wolf.
Miss Jenny said her Electric Allied Standard gets almost 300 miles per tank as the Screaming Eagle powered duals header, tab performance exhaust, RLNS air, and SE tuner. Yeah, well, that'd be nice if
Hey,
I
I
could
mean,
get at
if
least
you're getting
300.
300 miles to a tank, that's excellent. Like
Yeah,
I would,
fantastic.
if I'm getting close to 200, I think I'm doing excellent. But that's a whole lot better than my Sportster. Every 100 miles, I'm stopping on the Sportster. Even running down to Navarre, which is like 220 miles from here, on the interstate, running about 75, 80. I can get about 100 miles. I'm getting not bad fuel mileage. So it's like 2.5 gallons that I had to put back in the tank. So I would
Hmm.
say, but if I'm running around town, it's at 100 miles, I've eaten through basically that 5 gallon tank. Um, but I've done a little bit of work to that Sportster.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that I'm guessing that Sportster's not really made for fuel efficiency. Hey, super chat, Keith Blackson. Keith, appreciate it. We'll need it for gas. He is actually one of my channel members, so we appreciate that. And what Raven Wolf said, I bought the Tab 4.5 without the baffles. Haven't. I'm guessing he meant to say haven't installed them yet. Hopefully, they're going to sound pretty cool. Raven, anything Tab Performance, you're not going to be disappointed. I promise you. The 4.5 sound great as well. I've heard those on a few different bikes.
Probably on my next build, I'll have to do a tap performance just to see how they sound.
Dude,
Because I
you'll
mean,
love them.
I've only heard them like in video, so I
Oh, you
haven't
got to
heard
hear them
any
in
actually
person.
in person. But
They're mean, dude. They're not as deep and throaty. They got a nice crackle to them. They are deep though, but not like Reinhardt, where it's almost like a real bass. You know, how Reinhardt's kind of bassy.
yeah,
It I don't know. It's hard to describe. Once you hear it, you're gonna be a changed man. I promise.
and that's one thing with exhaust in a Harley. I don't really like the tingy as much. I rather like,
Hmm.
I guess, that deeper throat, and that's one reason I do like my S&S so much because it's got
Hmm.
that deeper tone to it. Um, but like on the Sportster, I would almost say my Sportster sounds louder than my Bagger, even though it's a smaller engine. But it's that D&D um, Bobcat that I'm running, so it's got more of a louder, tingy sound than it
Hmm.
does have a, I guess, rumble.
Okay. Yeah, I would say uh, tabs are a touch deeper than like Vance and Hines because I Vance and Hines is more of that raspier, tingy sound.
Yeah,
Oh. Yeah, Raven said that was a typo. I figured. Yeah. So, what do you got planned, man? What do you got coming up?
whew. Well, I got to get the bike back together because right now I'm working with Hog Tunes. So I got to get some saddlebag led speakers painted. So working on that right now. Um, and I got a few little upgrades going to the bike. And I only got 2 months to get all this done. Um, and I know, even though I plan everything out or I try to, there's always something that could happen. So I didn't want to push it all within a month, especially before going up to Tennessee for the Run to the Hills 4. So that's really the next event for me is Run to the Hills 4. And then after that, it kind of dies down a little bit. And then the wife and I have a major trip that we're planning, as long as nothing falls through, up to Salem, Massachusetts. So we get to experience kind of the Northeast, see some things we haven't, um, kind of reach out to some people along the way. So that's really kind of everything going on. And then, like, I was reaching out to you about Robert Simmons event, and you said
Mm,
November, so I'm trying to plan for that as well. So that's really kind of everything for the rest of the year that I got going on.
yeah. Yeah, you're definitely not going to want to miss Robert's anniversary. That's a great time. I mean, he puts on a great group ride. He does the practice session the next day following after. It's a good time. Great people.
Plus, that actually gave me a chance to kind of hang out with Robert and everything on his anniversary of his channel. Get to kind of see some of that content. Plus, it's something I kind of want to venture more into of starting, especially with the Sportster, doing
Mm,
more training and slow maneuvering, and then kind of venture up to the bagger because that Sportster, I'll throw it around like it's a toy, and that's the way it feels.
mm,
And I'm not too worried about it getting damaged because I keep it more in the garage. It's more my local bike than my bagger where I'm doing all the traveling right now. So it gives me something to kind of more practice on because the fundamentals will be there to where I can transition into the bagger. Uh, I've spent a lot of time setting that bagger up to where it feels more comfortable to me and I can throw it around, but it's just having those fundamentals.
yeah. Well, I mean, you got like crash guards on the bagger.
I do. Um, so I got bunking up front, and then I got basically like Harley ones, the low profile ones, but I actually kind of want to change those out to something else. Uh, and I've been looking at like I think like Fly and Ride and a few of them where they're running like the SBC or Santoro crash bars to where they have more of a slider come out at the top and bottom.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
feel like that would give me a little bit more protection because of where the placement of the sliders are. And I live by sliders on a bike. I got slider pegs on my Sportster at the top of the shocks, and then I'm running the Bun King crash bars on it because I was actually drag racing it on a back, well, just a little rally, and the drag strip was not set up properly. So
Mm,
the bike never caught traction. All I did was spin the tire, and then it started just fishtailing and slid it down. So
yeah.
if I didn't have the slider pegs and crash bars on it, that bike would have probably been close to total. So because it just grabbed in the grass, flipped
Mm,
around. So all I had to do was change out the fairing and the handlebars. Other
okay.
than that, everything else was still intact.
Yeah, I haven't experienced those slider bars. It does look interesting, as Raven Wolf says. Get drop cards, the motorcycle drop cards. Those are fantastic too. But I would be open to trying like those slider bar type uh, crash protection because you can just replace the ends on those, right?
Right. And that's what I like really about them because it just slid down and one bolt, replace it with a regular guard or something like that. Well, it's either having it re powder coated, taking it off instead of
Hmm.
just replacing I say plastic, but it's more like polyurethane or something like that. Not just,
Okay.
so it reduces heat. So it's not just melting like regular plastic will.
Hmm. Okay.
But
Yeah, I got black motorcycle drop guards on my Road King, and I've just accepted that they're gonna end up being shiny on the where they hit the ground because I mean I've dropped that bike so many times practicing, which I'm okay with because I know nothing's gonna get hurt
right.
unless I crash into the back of somebody like I did at that rodeo, and then the fender gets
I was
dented
about to
in.
bring that up where at that point, there's nothing crash bars can do on a front
Yeah,
fender. But ooh, I saw the pictures afterwards. That did some damage to that thing. I mean,
yeah, it's all right. I mean, it goes with the territory. I knew that something like that could happen, and the guy that I was riding with, Brian, he fell over. He doesn't know exactly why he fell over, but I was so close, and I I feel like I could have avoided that, but my training isn't 100% there. I was really really close to him, but I don't know. It is what it is. The fender can always be replaced, which I got a
And
new
it
one
can,
coming.
you know, I mean, it's out of a lot of things that could happen, a front fender, and I've known plenty of people just to run their bikes without front fenders. Um, but that's also why having two bikes helps out too. It's like
Yeah.
practicing on the Sportster. You know, if something happens to it, I'm not worried about it. I can fix it later and still have another bike to ride. But luckily, it was on that bike and not the CVO too, because I guarantee that would have been a little bit more costly to fix. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I would ever take that CVO to a rodeo. Although I will be practicing on it. I will be taking it out. So if I take it to work or something, when I do have it, when it's not in the shop, uh, like I'll do some U-turns and stuff. I got motorcycle drop cars on that too. So if that falls over, I'm not even worried about anything getting damaged because I know it's going to be okay.
right, you know, I ran the bike without rear crash bars for a little bit, and a lot of that was more trying to find the right ones for the wife at the time when she was riding.
Hmm.
So that was the biggest pain. I always more believe in the thicker bars, and that's why I like the like Santero, just with the sliders. I did come across a company though, more like for saddlebag guards. So they actually attach near the rear of your saddlebags where the exhaust hanger is. The only
Hmm.
thing about that, I haven't really seen a lot of videos on it. Just more the install is if something did happen, are they going to crack the saddlebag? Like if it
Mm.
bends up, if it's a hard enough, because it's literally just sticking out just to pass the saddlebag.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the only worry I would have with putting those on the bike. Um, is if they did, like if you hit pretty hard, because it's only like thin metal. It's not like a big chunk like that thick to where it's not going to
Mm.
bend. Well, then it's going to cave into the saddlebag because the saddlebag is only ABS. So
Right.
then they really didn't protect it. They actually caused a little bit more damage.
Yeah. I'll be honest. The so the Road King Special didn't come with rear crash guards, and neither did the CVO. So don't waste your money on the Harley rear saddlebag guards. Go on Amazon. You can get a set of them for 50, $60, and they work exactly like the Harley ones.
Now, there is one company I have come across for the rear guards. Now, I've started seeing some of their products out there for their rear fender, their saddlebags, but no one has talked about their actual crash bars. So, and it's
Mm.
from Nasty Hog. So they look pretty identical to Santoro. So, and they're a little bit cheaper. So I'm like, I might give those a try.
Mm.
Um, so that might be where I go next for crash bars on the rear. But that's something I always believe in because you never know when you can actually drop your bike. And I've done pricing on lids, saddlebags, and it's not cheap. I mean,
Nope.
even if you're just buying the saddlebags and yep,
Yeah, I'll have to look them up. They make all like slider style stuff.
yeah, they make shift linkage, crash bars. Heard good things about them.
Okay.
So
Perfect. I think Jimmy the Bull, he did that for guards too. He just got the Amazon ones. Yeah, they work and they're great.
because I mean, even though I do all my own paint work, still replacing bags, still I want to say 700, $800, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not even like stretch bags or any other color or special paint. So I rather protect as much as I possibly can, but also having that on there, especially like doing the drills that you do where you could fall over,
Hmm.
it's a way not to get trapped under the bike. That way, I rather have the bike slide out and I get to walk away than being trapped under 800 pounds and having my leg just trapped under it. So with sliders or crash bars, that's just something I highly recommend. Now, the only bike I ride without any crash protection, and that's more because it's my dad's bike, is the 91 Springer, or yeah, 90. So there's not really anywhere to put like crash bars on it,
Yeah.
but and it looked kind of goofy on that style the way he's got it because it's that old style bike. But
Yeah. Raven, yeah, those are eh, the guards I'm talking about. They don't wrap around the whole base per se. It's like a, I don't know, it's like a U shape. Maybe I can pull up the ones here. It looks like I can share my screen. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Give some clarification. Harley crash bars. Here we go. You know what?
and
I'll
for
just
like
go.
350, there's not much difference in price for some of the other companies either. I mean, that's
Right.
now Amazon. I've seen some a lot cheaper and everything like that. But it also depends on what kind of style that you're trying to go with.
Yep. Here we go. So like, all right, now let me come back over here and see if I can share my screen. Share screen. All right. Here we go. All right. I don't know if
There
it's
we go.
viewable. Okay. Yeah. So these ones are 78.99, and these fit 14 to 23. So pretty much you're covered 14 and up. Um, yeah. So even something like this compared to $350, this will work. I think the ones I got were from TCMT. So try and look that up.
Yeah, for almost 350, you can get. That's basically what the nasty hog ones are, which is pretty close to the Santuro. Santuro, or I want to say $450. So at that point it just depends on what kind of style. Because yeah, the ones you just pulled up are actually the ones I have on my bike right now,
Okay.
and I think I actually got them off Amazon. So I never leaned it over or tested out the crash bars,
Hmm.
but just for kind of that style and having the sliders is the only reason I want to change it out. But for just having crash bars, compared to $350, those, yeah, I would definitely go with those for definitely the
Yeah.
price.
I've definitely tested them quite a bit and they work, but I do suggest having the motorcycle drop guards on top of that because they'll save most of it, but some of your stuff, especially you got stretch bags, it's gonna kind of hit a little bit, won't do as much damage. That's the problem with the Road King. It's got those. It's a special, and that's really the only kind they make, except for the police now. And the bags are stretched, so that's almost a disadvantage of for me when I'm doing the cone stuff because I'm longer now, and so I'm getting a set of shorter bags,
Okay.
just like regular bags. I like the stretch bag. I like the look, but it's not for what I need to use it for.
Yeah, if I had an actual another set of bags that I could actually work with, I'd probably cut them up, chop them, all that. But that's kind of the look I go with is more the chop bag style because what I run right now is just the standard. But see, that's another thing. Like with the Nasty Hog, they sell a whole kit, but I kind of want to get some people's opinion and reviews about them first. Because there's not a lot out there about them. It's like they're drop guards. So, but I go more the performance bagger look. I just won't do a Baja Light. Just I go Moons MC. They're bright, but also the price. That's the kind of thing too. It all depends on what you got to spend or what you want to look like too. But um,
Yeah.
I run and like the reason I run Bung King crash bars on the front. I'm a short dude, so putting regular highway pegs or not highway crash bars on there, and then the highway pegs on top of that,
Mm,
I won't be able to reach. My legs would be like tiptoeing on it. I wouldn't be comfortable. So with like the Bung King crash bars, I kind of get the best of both worlds. So I use
yeah.
them as highway pegs and crash bars at the same time.
Gotcha. Dude, I got a set of those Zero frame mounted ones, changed my life. Those are the best.
I
Absolute
would
best.
get those, but with the '08, they won't work with my bike
Oh
because
man.
yeah. So that's where like with Ciro coming out with those where they actually mount under the floorboards to like the frame, I would actually have gotten some, but of course with the '08, they don't work. So that's where I've
Mm,
had to adjust to some things, and that's where I like the bunking so much because then I'm just stretched out. And when I put those on, I actually had to change out my air cleaner because I had that big force winder style air cleaner.
mm.
Well, I couldn't put my right leg up on my crash bar. So I
Oh,
got the S&S Stealth where everything was sunk in.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, we got SS Goldwing in the house. Late getting here. Hit that button, guys. Yeah, guys. Make sure you hit that like button if you're enjoying this. Definitely helps us out.
So what's
Yeah.
more plans for you besides just the course or the two courses coming up for the rest of the year? Any trips, anything like
Uh, Not really any trips. Just pretty much going out to. So I'll be doing the lock and lean course in Illinois, and I believe Jimmy is going to be there as well. Jimmy the
okay.
Bull. So that'll be kind of cool. And then yeah, the Yamaha Champ School, that's going to be Ohio. So that's not really traveling. It's like an hour away from me. And then pretty much going to most likely going to Robert's 3-year anniversary in November ish, whenever he releases that date. And I'm just going to try to hold some more practice sessions. Some people have been hitting me up for some private lessons. So I'll give it a shot and see if it works out and see how many people I can help.
And that'd be great for you. I mean, because you're doing the practice, so then to pass that along, that's going to be some great content. Not really great content for you, but also just like your followers and other people helping them out. It's it's just like a great
Yeah,
community of passing down knowledge and helping other riders. And I don't know another community of that does everything that we do between if a rider goes down, helping them. It's like the Badgers and what they do. Like Robert helping other motorcyclists to learn how to be the best they can on their bike. So just
yep.
and that's something I've been riding for I don't know 10 years.
Oh, you there? You froze. Uh-oh. Oh, maybe. Come on, we need you back.
Hopefully.
Um, oh, there you are. You're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, weather wise down here is going to crap. So that's where probably what's happening right now is with the weather and being in Alabama. It's because I'm looking at it right now. It's telling me connection unstable finally, but hopefully it'll hold out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's where I really want to do a class with Robert and just hone in more of my skills. I mean, I've been traveling on the bike, but even riding for 20 something years, I can always learn something new. There's
Oh yeah.
no no real stopping. I mean, guys that have been even riding longer than me, there's always something new to learn. Now, between the 101 class and the 102, what is some of the differences between the two classes?
I don't know because I haven't taken the 102 yet. I'm taking that in May. But from my understanding,
Okay.
there's gonna be some brakeless stuff in there. The speed's gonna pick up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I just know it's gonna be more difficult. And then from there, 102
Okay.
go into 201. Q just took 201, and he said that was a tough one. And then I think the last one, I don't know if there's a 301 and a 401, but I know the last course is you have to beat Ben Wolf, and nobody's passed it. So that's my goal.
Whew. I was watching those videos when you were doing the whole slow riding against him.
Oh, dude,
You should have
that's
told
not
him
even
not to use
fair.
the clutch.
Yeah. Yeah, he's insane,
Yeah.
man. Like that's gonna be my life goal is to beat Ben Wolf in the slow race, and it's gonna be tough. I couldn't even beat him with him not using any brakes. I mean, come on. Oh well. He was both
Because
saying
doing
brakeless
doing some of
301.
that, I've yeah definitely doing some of that. I've had to make sure my clutch was adjusted once I got that fixed because I've had to ride. I've been put in a few situations where I didn't have a clutch and try to make it back to a dealership or back to the Airbnb.
Mm.
That is no fun because trying to
Oh
make a
yeah.
turn and you can't control that bike and then stopping. If I never have to experience that again, I'd be happy because that is just some sketchy stuff because your clutch is key to slow maneuvering. So if that's out of adjustment or it don't matter what else is going on, you really can't make turns because that clutch controls a lot of your control of the bike.
Yep. That's why clutch control is extremely important too. I mean, my problem right now is I'm rear brake heavy, and I'm trying to break that habit because I guarantee you that I need to change my rear brakes after that rodeo. And the I feel like the rear brake is it's it's a clutch or it's a crutch, and it makes you feel safe, and sometimes I'm making the bike fight against itself. I'm giving it more throttle but more brake, and the bike doesn't want to do anything at that point. So we'll work on it. I'm not an expert, and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I'll get better.
Now I've started using more rear brake lately, and a lot of it is more watching Robert and his brake control because well, not last year, but the year before, going over to Teledragons when I started doing a little bit more rear brake and having a little bit more control over the bike some, and it just dictates. Because before that, all I used was really my front brake, and I didn't have as much control to when I started using my rear brake as much as I do now. So it's kind of one of
Oh yeah.
those still learning and learning from better riders than myself because anybody can go straight, anybody can go fast, but it's having the control of the bike when you need it, and it's more at slow maneuvers that
Yep.
those things play into.
Yeah, and all those skills bleed over into higher speeds as well. I mean, there I would say I don't know. This isn't a scientific study here, but I would say probably like 80 to 90% of riders don't even touch that rear brake at all, which is crazy because I know I never really touched the rear brake because the way I was taught, they're like, yeah, you don't need the rear brake. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. I mean, that's where I was coming from because it's like I've been told, hey, most of your braking power is from your front brakes. I've
Which is
actually
true.
ran into people, yeah, and it is. I mean, but that's your stopping power. But to kind of
Right.
control your rear and have a little bit more control over that bike, I've started using the rear and I've noticed a lot more. So I'm like,
Oh yeah.
well, okay, let's start doing this. But then when I really need to stop or come to a quicker stop anyway, start using more of the front brake than just the rear. So it's kind of one of those always learning. Um, I've known guys that literally wouldn't even run a rear brake and just have front brakes. But
Yeah, that's nuts.
I wouldn't do that because
Mm,
then you're limiting your control and your stopping. And then I know like a lot of the newer ones, you got link breakage. So
yeah. So you're forced to use it at that point.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. So your front brake is they say it's about 70%, your rear's 30. So when you're in an emergency situation and you're braking, what do you think's better? Having only 70% of your stopping power, you're going to stop, but why not use that other 30%? You can go on YouTube and see the demos of people like they'll stop with just the front brake only, just the rear, and then do both together. And when you use both, man, it's night and day difference.
right. You know, because there are situations where you need all that braking power and why limit yourself? You're already on two wheels. So, and like the baggers, I know like yours, mine, we got two two front brakes and a rear brake.
Mhm.
Well, the bikes that only have one, then you're really kind of limiting that braking power. So cutting your rear brakes out, you probably
Oh
have
no.
even less stopping
Yeah.
power than having the two up front.
Yep. Yep. Raven
Well, we've
asked
come up on our
when.
hour.
Oh, okay. Let
Catch up
me
on
answer.
any comments. Oh,
Yeah, we'll answer these and then we'll wrap it up. Raven says, "When's the next lock and lean on the East Coast? Do you know? Really awesome to see you doing the practice sessions." I don't know. I just know the one in May is 24 through something, and that's in Illinois. Uh, Jimmy said, "I have been through 4 sets of pads on the rear brake. Holy smokes, man!" He might be a little heavier on the brake than me. I've been through a couple sets. I don't think I've changed the Road King brakes yet, but I just got that like end of year ish last year. And then Raven Wolf said, "Just got my second Road King for practice. That's awesome. Good thing to have." All right. Well, we're all caught up.
all right. Well, thanks, Joe, for coming on. And I hope you guys have a great night. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good one,
Yeah. Thank
Joe.
you too, man.